They say your life can change in a single night. I never believed that until I woke up that Saturday morning with a pounding headache, my mouth tasting like copper and regret, and the unmistakable scent of expensive perfume lingering in my bedroom, a perfume I couldn't afford even if I saved for 3 months. My name is Marcus Webb, 34 years old, single father to an 8-year-old daughter named Zoe who means more to me than my next breath. I worked as a senior project manager at Castellan Industries, one of those tech companies where everyone under 30 wears hoodies and everyone over 30 pretends they're still 25. I kept my head down, did my job, picked up Zoe from school at 3:15 every day without fail, and never, ever crossed the line. Until that night. The night I opened my door to a stranger. The night everything I thought I knew about myself, about my job, about the woman who ran my entire company, shattered like glass under a hammer. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to that morning. The morning I found Victoria Castellan, my CEO, the woman whose signature was on my paycheck, the woman worth $847 million according to Forbes, standing in my kitchen wearing nothing but my old Howard University t-shirt and a look that could freeze hell itself. The first thing I registered was pain. Not the dull ache of a regular hangover. I'd had those before, back in college, back when life was simpler and my biggest worry was whether I'd pass organic chemistry. No, this was different. This pain had teeth. It gnawed at the base of my skull like something alive and angry, pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat, which thundered in my ears like a freight train barreling through a tunnel. The second thing I registered was wrong. Everything felt wrong. The weight of my comforter was wrong, too light, as if someone had pulled it half off during the night. The angle of morning light slicing through my blinds was wrong, too sharp, too accusatory, falling across my face like the finger of God pointing at a sinner. Even the air tasted wrong, thick with something unfamiliar, something that didn't belong in my modest 2-bedroom apartment in Southeast DC. I forced my eyes open. My ceiling fan wobbled in lazy circles above me, the same ceiling fan I'd been meaning to fix for 3 months, the same one Zoe complained about because it clicked every 5th rotation. Click, 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 click. The sound usually comforted me. This morning it felt like an accusation. "What did you do, Marcus?" I pushed myself upright, and the room tilted sideways. My stomach lurched. I gripped the edge of my mattress until the sensation passed, breathing through my nose like they taught us in that one mandatory wellness seminar at work, the one I'd rolled my eyes through while checking my phone. That's when I heard it. The sound of my coffee maker gurgling to life in the kitchen. I lived alone. Zoe was at her grandmother's, my ex-wife Angela's mother, like she was every other weekend per our custody agreement. The custody agreement that had taken 2 years and $15,000 I didn't have to finalize. The agreement that Angela violated whenever she felt like it, but that I followed to the letter because I couldn't afford to lose even a single day with my daughter. Nobody else had a key to my apartment. My heart began to hammer for an entirely different reason. I swung my legs out of bed, and that's when I noticed I was wearing boxer briefs and nothing else. Not unusual. I often slept that way. But my jeans were crumpled on the floor near the door, inside out, like I'd torn them off in a hurry. My shirt was nowhere to be seen. And there, on my nightstand next to my phone, was a wine glass. I didn't own wine glasses. I owned exactly 4 drinking glasses from IKEA, 2 coffee mugs Zoe had decorated at one of those paint-your-own pottery places, and a set of plastic cups with superhero logos that I'd bought for her but secretly used myself. No wine glasses. Ever. This one was crystal, elegant, expensive-looking. A trace of red wine clung to the bottom, and on the rim. Lipstick. Red lipstick. My mouth went dry. I grabbed my phone. 2:47 a.m. My screen told me the last time I checked it. Now it reads 7:23 a.m. I had 6 missed calls. 3 from my mother. 2 from an unknown number. 1 from... My blood turned to ice. 1 from Victoria Castellan's executive assistant. Why would Eleanor Marks be calling me at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday night? My fingers trembled as I unlocked my phone, but before I could check my voicemail, I heard something else from the kitchen. Humming. Someone was humming in my kitchen. A woman's voice, low and melodic, humming something classical that I couldn't quite place. Mozart, maybe. Beethoven. The kind of thing you'd hear in a luxury hotel lobby or a high-end restaurant where they don't list prices on the menu because if you have to ask, you can't afford it. I stood up, my legs unsteady, and pulled on the sweatpants I'd left draped over my desk chair. My apartment was small. You could see from the bedroom door straight through to the kitchen if both doors were open. They were open. I took 3 steps toward the kitchen and stopped dead. Because there, silhouetted against my kitchen window with the morning sun setting her hair ablaze in shades of honey and gold, stood a woman. She had her back to me, reaching up to grab a mug from my cabinet. She had to stand on her toes to reach it, and she was wearing my shirt. My faded grey Howard University t-shirt with the small coffee stain on the left shoulder that I'd never been able to get out. And nothing else. Well, nothing else that I could see. The shirt fell to mid-thigh on her frame, and her legs, long, toned, the legs of someone who had a personal trainer and actually used them, were completely bare. My mind went blank. Then she turned around. And I stopped breathing. Because the woman in my kitchen, wearing my shirt, holding my coffee mug, looking at me with eyes the color of smoke and secrets, was Victoria Castellan, my CEO. The woman who signed off on every major decision at our company. The woman whose TED Talk on disrupting fintech had 19 million views. The woman who'd made the cover of Fortune 3 times. The woman who, in the 18 months I'd worked at Castellan Industries, I'd spoken to exactly 4 times, and only in group settings where I'd been specifically called upon to present project updates. The woman who was, objectively speaking, untouchable. She smiled at me. Not a friendly smile. Not a warm smile. Something else entirely. Something that made my skin prickle with warning signals my conscious mind was too scrambled to interpret. "Good morning, Marcus," she said, her voice like silk sliding over razor blades. "Coffee." I couldn't speak. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. She turned back to the coffee maker, completely at ease, as if standing in a stranger's kitchen wearing only his t-shirt was something she did every Saturday morning. She poured coffee into 2 mugs, my Zoa-decorated one with Best Dad painted in uneven letters, and a plain white one I use for guests I never had. "I hope you don't mind," she continued, setting the mugs on my small kitchen table. "I made myself at home. You were sleeping so soundly, and after last night." She paused, her eyes finding mine across the 12 feet of distance between us. "Well, I figured you needed the rest." After last night. Those 3 words detonated in my head like a bomb. I had no memory of last night. None. The last clear thing I remembered was leaving the office at 6:30 p.m., same as always. Taking the metro to the Anacostia station. Walking the 3 blocks to my apartment building. And then, nothing. A black hole where the next 12 hours should have been. "Ms. Castellan," I finally managed, my voice coming out strangled. I can't. What are you doing here?" She picked up the Best Dad mug and took a sip, watching me over the rim. "You really don't remember last night, do you?" she whispered. Something in her tone made my blood run cold. "What happened last night?" I asked, and I hated how my voice shook. She set down the mug very carefully. Then she walked toward me, and I realized for the first time how small my apartment was, how there was nowhere to retreat to, how I was backed against the wall between my bedroom and the kitchen with nowhere to go. She stopped 2 feet away from me, close enough that I could smell that expensive perfume again, something with jasmine and amber, something that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Close enough that I could see the faint freckles across her nose that you'd never notice in the boardroom. Close enough that I could see she wasn't wearing makeup, and she was somehow more beautiful for it. "You saved my life," she said quietly. I blinked. "What?" "Last night. You saved my life, Marcus. And in the process." She reached out and placed one hand flat against my chest, right over my racing heart. Her palm was warm. Her eyes were unreadable. "You became the most dangerous man in America." The room started spinning again, but this time it had nothing to do with whatever I'd drunk last night. "I don't understand," I whispered. Victoria Castellan smiled again, and this time there was something like sadness in it. "No, you wouldn't. Not yet. But you will." She stepped back, crossing her arms. "Tell me something, Marcus. Would you have opened the door to a stranger that night? If you'd known what it would cost you?" "What door? What stranger?" "Ms. Castellan, I don't remember anything." "Then I suppose I should start at the beginning." She walked back to the table and sat down in one of my mismatched chairs like she owned it, like she owned everything in this apartment, like maybe she owned me too now. "It started 3 months ago," she said, "when my head of security found something he wasn't supposed to find. Something that proved my late husband. You remember Daniel Castellan? The man everyone said died in that tragic helicopter accident last year." I nodded mutely. Everyone knew about Daniel Castellan. The tragedy had been international news. "He didn't die in an accident," Victoria said, and her voice went flat, empty. "He was murdered. And the people who killed him are now coming for me. Last night, they almost succeeded." She looked up at me, and I saw something in her eyes that made my knees weak. Fear. Real, genuine, bone-deep fear. "Last night, I was running for my life through the streets of Southeast DC, and I knocked on your door because yours was the only light on in the entire building. You could have turned me away. You should have turned me away. But you didn't." She stood up and walked to her purse. I hadn't even noticed it, sitting on my kitchen counter, and pulled out her phone. She tapped the screen a few times, then turned it toward me. On the screen was a photo. A building. My building. My apartment window. And in the window, clearly visible, was me standing in my kitchen with Victoria Castellan. The timestamp read 12:47 a.m. "This photo," Victoria said softly, "was taken by a man named Richard Volkov. He works for some very bad people. People who want me dead, who want to bury what I know about my husband's murder, who want to protect a conspiracy that goes all the way to the Pentagon." She locked her phone and set it down. "And now that they know you helped me, Marcus, they want you dead too." My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the floor, my back against the wall. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. Yesterday morning I'd woken up worried about whether Zoe needed new cleats for soccer and whether I could pick up an extra shift of freelance work to cover her summer camp fees. Now I was sitting on my floor while my CEO told me I was a target for assassination. Why me? I heard myself ask. "Why did you come to my door?" Victoria knelt down in front of me, and when she spoke, her voice was gentle in a way I hadn't thought possible. "Because 18 months ago, when I was reviewing the security clearance applications for everyone in the company, I saw your file. I saw your military record from your 4 years in the army. I saw your commendations. I saw that you were a man who knew how to handle a crisis, who knew how to keep his head, who knew how to protect people." She reached out and took my hand, and I was too shocked to pull away. I saw that you were a single father who fought like hell to keep his daughter. I saw that you were decent. And last night, when I was running for my life and had nowhere else to go, I bet everything on the hope that I'd read you right. She squeezed my hand. I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm so sorry. But I need your help. And more than that. She hesitated, and for the first time since I'd seen her in my kitchen, she looked uncertain. I think I'm falling in love with you, and I have no idea what to do about it. The world stopped. Everything stopped. I stared at her, at this woman who was completely out of my league, completely beyond my world, this woman who was now telling me that not only had I somehow become entangled in a murder conspiracy, but that she— That's impossible, I said. You don't even know me. I know you opened your door when you didn't have to. I know you believed me when I told you someone was trying to kill me. I know you held me last night when I was shaking so hard I thought I'd fly apart. Her eyes glistened. I know you look at your daughter's artwork on the fridge every morning before you leave for work. I know you pack her lunch with little notes that say you're amazing and Dad loves you. I know you're a better man than anyone I've ever met, Marcus, and I know that if I don't figure out how to stop the people who killed my husband, they're going to kill you too. And I can't. Her voice broke. I can't let that happen, she whispered. I didn't know what to say. What do you say when your entire life implodes before 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning? So I asked the only question that mattered. What do we do now? Victoria Castellan stood up and pulled me to my feet. She was strong, stronger than she looked. Now, she said, we run. We find the evidence my head of security hid before they killed him. We expose the people responsible. And we pray we survive long enough to see them burn. She grabbed her purse and pulled out a set of car keys. Pack a bag. We have maybe 20 minutes before they realize this apartment is compromised. Wait, what? I can't just leave. I have a daughter. I have custody responsibilities. I have— You have a target on your back, Victoria said sharply, cutting me off. And if you don't disappear right now, they'll use Zoe to get to you. Is that what you want? Ice flooded my veins. You leave my daughter out of this. I'm trying to. She grabbed my shoulders, and I saw the desperation in her eyes. Marcus, listen to me. The people who killed Daniel, the people who are coming for us, they don't have lines they won't cross. If they know about Zoe, they'll take her. They'll hurt her. They'll use her to make you do whatever they want. The only way to keep her safe is to make sure they never connect her to this. How? My voice came out as a ragged whisper. By making it look like you and I were never here. By erasing the last 12 hours. By moving faster than they can track. She released my shoulders and pulled out her phone again. I have a team, people I trust, people who've been helping me since this started. They're already moving your daughter to a secure location. She'll be safe. I promise you, Marcus, she'll be safe. You can't just take my daughter. I'm not taking her. I'm protecting her. There's a difference. Victoria thrust her phone into my hand. On the screen was a text message from a number I didn't recognize. Package secure. Grandma thinks it's an early pickup for a surprise trip to Disney. Kid is excited. All clean. Package. They were calling my daughter a package. But she was safe. 20 minutes, Victoria repeated. Then we ghost. I looked at her standing in my kitchen in my t-shirt. This woman who'd somehow appended my entire existence in one night I couldn't even remember. I looked at the fear in her eyes and the steel in her spine. I thought about Zoe, about whether I'd ever see her again, about whether I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Then I went to my bedroom and started packing. Because Victoria Castellan was right about one thing. I had opened the door to a stranger that night. And there was no closing it now. 15 minutes later, I was throwing a duffel bag into the trunk of a black Mercedes I'd never seen before. Victoria had changed into clothes she'd apparently stashed in her purse. Designer jeans that probably cost more than my couch and a cashmere sweater that made her look like she was heading to brunch in Georgetown, not running for her life. "Where are we going?" I asked as she slid into the driver's seat. "Somewhere they won't think to look." She started the engine. It purred like a satisfied cat. My husband had a safe house. Well, several safe houses. But this one he bought under a shell company I didn't know about until after he died. I climbed into the passenger seat, my mind still reeling. "How did you find out about it?" "His head of security, Thomas Brennan. The man I told you about, the one who found the evidence." Her jaw tightened. "They made it look like a heart attack. 42 years old, marathon runner, clean bill of health. Dead in his sleep 3 weeks after Daniel's helicopter went down." "But he told you first." "He left me a key and a riddle in his will. It took me 2 months to figure out what he meant." She pulled out of the parking lot, her eyes constantly checking the mirrors. By then I realized I was being followed. My phones were tapped. My home security system had been compromised. Everyone I trusted was either dead or working for them. "Them," I repeated. "You keep saying them. Who exactly are we running from?" Victoria was quiet for a long moment as she navigated through morning traffic. Finally, she said, "Have you ever heard of Arkan Solutions?" I shook my head. "Most people haven't. They're a private military contractor, one of the biggest in the world. They handle security for embassies, logistics for the Pentagon, training for foreign governments. On paper, they're legitimate. Billion-dollar government contracts, board members who used to be generals and senators." She took a sharp left turn. "In reality, they're a criminal organization that's been running weapons, laundering money, and eliminating anyone who threatens to expose them." My mouth went dry. "And your husband knew about this?" "Daniel didn't just know about it. He was building the case to take them down." She glanced at me. "That's what Castellan Industries really is, Marcus. It's not just a fintech company. We handle secure financial transactions for governments, NGOs, international organizations. Daniel had access to money trails that most people never see. And he found something, proof that Arkan was moving billions in illegal weapon sales through a network of shell companies. And they killed him for it. They killed him to bury it. But Daniel was smarter than they thought. He hid the evidence. And Thomas helped me find the first piece." She reached into her purse with one hand while steering with the other and pulled out a flash drive. "This is part 1. Bank records, wire transfers, shell company registrations. Enough to start asking very uncomfortable questions." "Part 1. I echoed. "How many parts are there?" 3. "Thomas only found the first before they killed him. The second is in the safe house. And the third?" She hesitated. "The third is the problem." "What do you mean?" "Daniel hid it somewhere they'd never think to look. Somewhere he knew I'd figure out eventually. But the clue he left me..." She shook her head. "I can't solve it alone. I need help from someone Daniel trusted. Someone who knows what he knew." "Who?" Victoria's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "His brother, James Castellan." The name hit me like a punch. Everyone in the tech world knew James Castellan, the reclusive genius who'd walked away from Silicon Valley at the height of his success to pursue other interests. Rumors said he'd gone off the grid, that he was hiding from something or someone, that he'd had a nervous breakdown. "I thought he disappeared," I said. "He did. Because he knew what Daniel was investigating. He tried to warn him to stop, to let it go. When Daniel wouldn't listen." Victoria's voice wavered. "James vanished. He hasn't responded to any of my messages. But I know where he is. And we need him." I processed this. "So the plan is, get the second piece of evidence from the safe house, find your brother-in-law who's been hiding for over a year, convince him to help us decode Daniel's clue, and then what? Hope we can expose Arkan before they kill us." "That's the plan." "That's a terrible plan." "You have a better one." I didn't. And that was the problem. We drove in silence for another 20 minutes. The city gave way to suburbs, then to the kind of wealthy exurban neighborhoods where every house had a gate and every driveway had a Mercedes like the one we were in. Victoria finally turned onto a private road that wound through dense woods. "We're here," she said. The safe house was exactly what I'd expected, a modern architectural statement in glass and steel, the kind of place that probably had a wine cellar worth more than my entire net worth. Victoria parked in the garage, and we went inside. The place was pristine, untouched, like a museum exhibit of how the other half lived. "The evidence is in Daniel's office," Victoria said, leading me upstairs. "He had a hidden safe. Thomas found it during his investigation." The office was all dark wood and leather chairs, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the woods. Victoria went straight to a bookshelf and pulled out 3 specific books in sequence. The shelf swung open like something from a movie, revealing a wall safe. She entered the combination. The safe clicked open. Inside was a single laptop. Victoria pulled it out reverently, like it was made of spun glass. "Everything's on here. Financial records, communications, evidence that connects Arkan to arms deals in Syria, Yemen, Ukraine. Proof of bribes paid to Pentagon officials, senators, even." She stopped abruptly. "Even what?" I prompted. "Even the vice president," she whispered. "Marcus, if this gets out, it doesn't just take down a defense contractor. It brings down half the government." I felt sick. "Then maybe we shouldn't." "We have to." She closed the laptop and turned to face me. "Because if we don't, Daniel died for nothing. Thomas died for nothing. And they'll keep killing until everyone who knows the truth is gone." She had a point. But looking at her standing there, holding evidence that could topple the most powerful people in the country, I realized something else. "You're not doing this for justice," I said slowly. "You're doing this for revenge." Victoria's eyes flashed. "Is there a difference?" "Yes. Justice means exposing them and letting the system handle it. Revenge means making them pay." Her voice was cold now, sharp as a blade. "They murdered my husband, Marcus. They made it look like an accident, and then they danced on his grave while they cashed their blood money. So yes, I want revenge. I want to watch them burn. I want to see them in handcuffs on national television. I want their children to know what their fathers really were." She stepped closer to me. "Does that make me a bad person?" I should have said yes. I should have walked away right then. But I thought about what she'd said earlier, about how they'd use Zoe to get to me, about how they didn't have lines they wouldn't cross, about how these people had already killed 2 men and would kill anyone else who got in their way. "No," I said finally. "It makes you human." Something in her expression softened. She reached up and touched my face, her fingers cool against my cheek. I shouldn't have dragged you into this. You deserve better than. The front window exploded. Glass shattered inward in a glittering spray. Victoria screamed. I grabbed her and pulled her down behind Daniel's desk as 3 more windows exploded in rapid succession. Not gunfire, I realized. Concussion grenades. My military training kicked in. Stay down. I shouted over the ringing in my ears. I pulled her toward the office door, away from the windows. We made it to the hallway before I heard them coming up the stairs. Men. At least 3, moving fast and professional. Is there another way out? I hissed. Victoria nodded, her face pale. Servant stairs. End of the hall. We ran. Behind us, I heard them enter the office. Heard one of them say, "Clear. Find the laptop." They were here for the evidence. We reached the servant stairs, narrow and steep, and took them 2 at a time. My heart hammered. My lungs burned. Behind us, I heard shouting, heard them realize we'd escaped. We burst out into the garage. Victoria fumbled for her keys. I yanked open the driver's door. "I'm driving." She didn't argue. We piled in. I started the engine just as the door from the house burst open and 2 men in tactical gear appeared, weapons raised. I threw the car in reverse and floored it. The Mercedes shot backward out of the garage. Bullets pinged off the bulletproof windows. Thank God for paranoid billionaires. And I spun the wheel, whipping the car around in a bootlegger turn I hadn't done since my army days. Then we were speeding down the private road, trees whipping past in a blur, while behind us I could see headlights giving chase. They found us. Victoria gasped, clutching the laptop to her chest. How did they find us so fast? I had a terrible suspicion. Your phone. Is it on you? She pulled it from her pocket. Throw it out the window. Now. She hesitated for only a second before rolling down the window and hurling the phone into the woods. But the damage was done. They'd tracked us here. Which meant, they know about the safe house, I said, taking a corner too fast. Which means they knew about it before today. Which means. Someone told them, Victoria finished, her voice hollow. Someone I trusted. I pushed the accelerator harder, but the chase vehicle was gaining. It was bigger, faster, probably armored like ours. We weren't going to outrun them. Think, Marcus. Think like a soldier. I saw a tight curve ahead, the kind where the road dropped away on one side into a steep ravine. A terrible idea formed in my mind. Hold on to something, I said. What are you? I didn't answer. I just accelerated straight toward the curve, watching the chase vehicle close the gap, waiting for the exact right moment. Now. I yanked the emergency brake and spun the wheel. The Mercedes rotated 180 degrees in a screaming power slide, now facing the chase vehicle head-on. I saw the driver's eyes go wide with shock. He tried to swerve. Too late. I floored it. We shot forward. The driver panicked and jerked his wheel, exactly what I'd hoped he'd do. His vehicle left the road, flipped once, twice, and plunged into the ravine in a grinding crash of metal and breaking glass. I didn't stop to see if they survived. I just kept driving, my hands shaking on the wheel, Victoria silent beside me. After 5 miles of winding roads, I finally pulled over on the shoulder and killed the engine. We sat in silence for a long moment, both of us breathing hard. You killed them, Victoria finally said. Her voice was strange, not horrified, not angry. Something else. Maybe, I said. Probably. I looked at my hands on the steering wheel. They were steady now, but I could still feel the adrenaline singing through my veins. I was a soldier, Victoria. I know how to do this. Doesn't mean I wanted to do it again. She reached over and took one of my hands. Squeezed it. Thank you. I couldn't look at her, because I just realized something that made my blood run cold. Last night, I said slowly, when you came to my door, when I let you in, you said I saved your life. You did. How? I turned to face her. What exactly happened last night, Victoria? Because I don't remember any of it. And you keep dancing around the details. So tell me, what did I do? She bit her lip. Marcus. Tell me. She flinched at the force in my voice. Then she took a deep breath and said the words that changed everything. They sent someone to kill me. He followed me to your building. When you opened the door, I was bleeding. He'd already shot me, grazed my side. You pulled me inside. He tried to follow. And you. She swallowed hard. You fought him. You were protecting me. And in the struggle, he fell. He hit his head on your coffee table. My coffee table. The one I'd bought from a thrift store for $40. The one with the sharp corner that I kept meaning to pad because I was worried Zoe would hurt herself on it. He hit his head, I repeated numbly. He died, Marcus. It was self-defense. It was completely justified. But there's a body. The implications crashed over me like a wave. There's a dead man. In my apartment. And you just left him there. No. Victoria said quickly. My team, the ones I trust, they cleaned it up. They took care of everything. But Marcus, there's security footage. From your building. And probably from traffic cameras outside. Footage of him following me. Footage of us entering your apartment. And footage of... She couldn't finish. Footage of me killing him, I said flatly. She nodded miserably. I laughed. It was a bitter, broken sound. So even if we expose Arkan, even if we bring down everyone involved, I'm still a murderer on camera. No. It was self-defense. You think that matters? I turned to her. Victoria, I'm a black man who killed a white guy in my apartment. You think any jury in America is going to believe it was self-defense? You think they won't find a way to make me the villain? She had no answer for that, because we both knew I was right. There's more, she said softly. The man you killed. His name was Connor Blake. He was Arkan's lead cleaner. The man they sent when they needed someone dead and buried with no questions asked. He's killed at least 15 people that we know of. And now he's dead. She looked at me with something like awe. You killed the man even trained operators were afraid of. I should have felt something, pride, maybe, or vindication. But all I felt was numb. So now they want me dead even more, I said. Yes. And the only way to save myself is to help you expose them. Yes. I closed my eyes. Thought about Zoe. About whether I'd ever get to see her again. About whether she'd remember me as her dad or as the man who abandoned her. Where's James? I asked, opening my eyes. Your brother-in-law. Where is he? Victoria pulled out a burner phone from the glove compartment. She'd apparently planned for losing her regular phone. She pulled up a map. Montana. Middle of nowhere. He's been living off the grid in a cabin he built himself. How far? If we drive straight through, taking turns at the wheel? 36 hours. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd crashed into my life, who'd made me a fugitive, who'd put my daughter in danger, who'd gotten me mixed up in a conspiracy that could get us both killed. This woman who was looking at me like I was her last hope. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd crashed into my life, who'd made me a fugitive, who'd put my daughter in danger, who'd gotten me mixed up in a conspiracy that could get us both killed. This woman who was looking at me like I was her last hope. Then we better get moving, I said, and started the engine. We drove through the day and into the night, stopping only for gas and food we ate in the car. Victoria took the wheel while I slept fitfully in the passenger seat, my dreams full of shattering glass and falling bodies. When I woke, she was pale and exhausted, her hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. "Pull over," I said. "You need rest. We can't stop. They could be." "Victoria." I put my hand over hers. "Pull over. You're no good to anyone if you fall asleep at the wheel." She did, reluctantly. We were somewhere in Nebraska, the landscape flat and endless under a sky full of stars I'd forgotten existed. In D.C., you never saw stars like this. We switched positions. She curled up in the passenger seat, and within minutes she was asleep. I drove through the night, my mind churning. Every few hours, I checked the burner phone she'd given me. There were messages from the team watching Zoe, brief, cryptic updates. Package happy. Ate all her pancakes. Asking about Dad. Each message was a knife in my chest. I was supposed to call her every night before bed. It was our ritual. I'd ask about her day. She'd tell me about school and her friends and whatever drama was unfolding in 3rd grade. Then I'd tell her I loved her. She'd say, "Love you more, Dad." And I'd say, "Impossible," and she'd giggle. I hadn't called her in 36 hours. What was she thinking? That I'd abandoned her? That I didn't care? "She knows you love her." I jerked, startled. Victoria was awake, watching me in the dim glow of the dashboard. "I'm sorry. Your daughter. She knows you love her. I can see it on your face. You're worried about what she thinks." Victoria shifted in her seat. "Trust me, Marcus. A child whose father would do anything to protect her. She knows she's loved. I should be with her. If you were with her, you'd both be dead." Her voice was soft but firm. "This is the only way to keep her safe. By making her think I abandoned her. By making sure she has a father to come back to." Victoria reached over and touched my arm. "When this is over, when we expose them, you'll be able to go back to her. I promise." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. "Tell me about her," Victoria said. "Your daughter. What's she like?" I couldn't help but smile, even through the pain. "She's everything. She's smart, scary smart. She taught herself to read before kindergarten. She's got this thing where she'll just pick up books that are way too advanced for her and puzzle through them until she figures them out." "Like her dad," Victoria said quietly. I glanced at her, surprised. "What?" "Your military records. Your college transcripts. You put yourself through Howard on the GI Bill while working 2 jobs. You graduated summa cum laude with a degree in computer science. You're smart too, Marcus." Zoe comes by it honestly. I'd forgotten she'd read my file. She's better than me. She's kinder, more patient. She wants to be a veterinarian because she can't stand the thought of animals suffering. Last year, she made me drive her to every animal shelter in the city so she could donate her birthday money. Victoria's eyes glistened. "She sounds wonderful." "She is." My throat tightened. "She's the only good thing I ever did." Her mother, Angela, She wanted to get an abortion when we found out. We were young, barely out of college, neither of us ready. But I begged her to give me a chance. Told her I'd take care of everything. And for a while, it worked. We got married, I got a job, Angela went back to school. But then, what happened? Angela realized she didn't want to be a mother or a wife. She wanted her career, her freedom, her life without a child holding her back. The old bitterness crept into my voice. She left when Zoe was 2. Just left. Didn't even leave a note. I came home from work one day and she was gone. Her clothes, her laptop, everything. Just vanished. That must have been devastating. It was. But you know what the worst part was? Zoe was too young to understand. She kept asking where Mommy went. Kept crying for her at night. And I had no idea what to say. I swallowed hard. Angela came back 6 months later. Said she'd made a mistake, wanted to try again. And like an idiot, I let her back in. For Zoe's sake. Lasted another year before she left again. This time I didn't take her back. But she wanted custody. Oh yeah. Suddenly, after years of barely seeing her. Daughter, Angela wanted to be Mother of the Year. Took me to court. Claimed I was an unfit father because I worked long hours. Tried to paint me as neglectful. My hands tightened on the wheel. Cost me every penny I had to fight her. But I won. Mostly. Shared custody, but Zoe lives with me. You're a good father, Marcus. I'm trying to be. I looked over at her. My dad left when I was 10. Just walked out one day and never came back. I swore I'd never do that to my kid. Never make her wonder if she was enough, if she was worthy of being loved. So yeah, I work long hours and I'm not perfect and sometimes I burn dinner or forget to sign a permission slip. But Zoe knows, she knows, that I will never leave her. That I would die before I let anyone hurt her. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "That's why I came to your door that night. That's why I knew I could trust you. Because a man who loves his daughter that much, that's a man who understands what it means to protect someone at any cost." We drove in silence after that. The night stretched on, mile after mile of empty highway. Somewhere around dawn, we crossed into Montana, and the landscape shifted. Mountains rising in the distance, pine forests thick and dark. "We're close," Victoria said, checking the GPS on the burner phone. "Another hour." I nodded, nerves coiling in my stomach. We were about to walk into the home of a man who'd spent a year hiding from the world. A man who'd watched his brother investigate a conspiracy and done nothing to stop him. A man who, according to Victoria, knew secrets that could crack this case wide open. What if he refused to help? What if he'd gone crazy out here in the wilderness? What if... There, Victoria said suddenly, pointing to a barely visible turnoff. I took it. The road, if you could call it that, was more of a rutted dirt path that wound through the trees. We bounced and jostled for another 20 minutes before the cabin came into view. It was bigger than I'd expected. Not a shack, an actual house, well built, with solar panels on the roof and a satellite dish. Smoke curled from a chimney. Someone was home. I parked the car and we got out. The air was cold and clean, smelling of pine and wood smoke. Somewhere nearby, I could hear running water, a stream or creek. "Let me do the talking," Victoria said quietly as we approached the front door. But before we could knock, the door swung open. The man standing there was tall and lean, with Daniel Castellan's eyes and a beard that hadn't been trimmed in months. He was holding a shotgun, not pointed at us but not exactly casual either. "Victoria," he said flatly, "I told you not to come here." "I didn't have a choice, James." "There's always a choice. You chose revenge. I chose survival." His eyes flicked to me. "Who's he?" "His name is Marcus Webb. He saved my life. And he's in this now whether he wants to be or not." James Castellan studied me for a long, uncomfortable moment. Then he lowered the shotgun and stepped aside. "You might as well come in. But I'm not promising anything." The interior of the cabin was surprisingly sophisticated. Computers, monitors, satellite equipment. This wasn't a man hiding from technology. This was a man using it to stay hidden. "Nice setup," I said. "I built it myself. Encrypted satellite internet, VPN Reuters, the works. I can access anything in the world from here, and no one can trace it back to me." He set the shotgun against the wall. "So, what do you want, Victoria?" "I need your help decoding Daniel's final clue. He hid the third piece of evidence." "I know what he hid," James interrupted. "And I know you can't find it without me. That's why you're here." "Then help me." "No." His voice was cold. "I told Daniel to stop. I told him Arkan was too big, too powerful, that they'd kill him if he kept pushing. He didn't listen. And now he's dead, Victoria. Dead. And nothing you do will bring him back. But we can make them pay." "At what cost?" James's voice rose. "How many more people have to die? Thomas is dead. That Arkan operator is dead. And how many more before you're satisfied?" He looked at me. "How many people has she gotten killed so far, Mr. Webb?" I thought about Connor Blake, his skull cracked open on my coffee table. "One," I said quietly. "That I know of." "And you're okay with that?" I met his eyes. He was trying to kill her. And he would have killed me next, and then my daughter. So yeah, I'm okay with it. James shook his head. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. Arkan isn't just a defense contractor. They're a shadow government. They have people in every agency, every branch of the military, every level of law enforcement. You think you can expose them? They'll bury you before your story even gets published." "Not if we have all the evidence," Victoria said. "Not if we can prove everything at once, the weapons deals, the bribes, the murders. If we dump it all at the same time, to every major news organization, they can't suppress it. They can kill you before you do. That's why we need to move fast. James, please." Victoria's voice cracked. "Daniel was your brother. Don't you want to see the people who killed him face justice?" "Justice?" James laughed bitterly. "There is no justice. Not for people like us. There's just survival and death." He turned away from her, staring out the window at the forest. "I loved my brother, Victoria, more than anything. But he chose this. He chose to fight a war he couldn't win. And I'm not going to help you throw your life away on the same crusade." Victoria looked like she'd been slapped. But I was thinking about what James had said, about his computer setup, about a man who'd spent a year hidden from the world. "You're monitoring them," I said suddenly. James turned to look at me. "That's what all this is," I continued, gesturing at his equipment. "You're not just hiding. You're watching. You're tracking Arkan's operations, monitoring their communications, keeping tabs on their movements. You've been doing your own investigation this whole time." A long silence. Then James smiled, a cold, dangerous smile. "Smart man, Mr. Webb. So you do want to take them down, I pressed. You're just waiting for the right moment. Or the right leverage. I'm waiting, James said slowly, for an opportunity that doesn't get me killed. Daniel and Thomas went at this head-on. They thought they could build a case and hand it to the authorities like good little citizens. They're dead. He walked over to one of his computers and tapped a few keys. A surveillance feed appeared, grainy footage of men in suits entering a building I didn't recognize. I've been taking a different approach. I'm building a kill switch. A what? Victoria asked. A dead man's trigger. If something happens to me, if I don't check in every 48 hours, everything I've collected, years of surveillance, communications intercepts, financial records, gets automatically released to 200 different journalists, whistleblowers, and international organizations simultaneously. Arkan knows I have it. That's why they haven't killed me yet. He looked at Victoria. But you're not protected. You're a loose end. And they're actively hunting you. Then protect me, Victoria said. Add me to your kill switch. Make it so that if anything happens to either of us, everything gets released. James considered this. That would work. But it doesn't solve your problem. What problem? You don't just want protection. You want revenge. You want to see them destroyed, publicly, humiliatingly. He turned back to his computer. And I understand that. Believe me, I do. But revenge requires the third piece of evidence. The piece Daniel hid. The piece that connects everything. The weapons deals, the murdered witnesses, the cover-ups, all of it, directly to the people at the very top. Without it, you've got corruption. With it, you've got treason. So help us find it, I said. James looked at me for a long time. Then he sighed. Daniel's clue. Victoria, show it to me. Victoria pulled out her phone, a different burner, and showed him a photo. It was a page from a book, with one phrase underlined, where we first learned to fly. I frowned. That's it. That's the clue. Cryptic bastard, James muttered. Classic Daniel. Always thought he was so clever. But he was smiling slightly, a sad, fond smile. I know what it means. Where? Victoria demanded. Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The Wright Brothers Memorial. James pulled up a map on his computer. When Daniel and I were kids, our dad took us there on vacation. We were obsessed with airplanes, with flight, with the idea of doing something impossible. Daniel said it was where he learned to dream. He zoomed in on a section of the memorial grounds. There's a storage facility nearby that Daniel bought 10 years ago, under one of his shell companies. I'd bet everything that's where he hid the evidence. Victoria's face lit up with hope. Then we go there. We get the evidence. We combine it with what we already have, Anne. And you die, James interrupted. Because Arkan knows about that place too. They have to. They've been tearing apart every property Daniel ever owned. By now, they've found that storage facility, and they're watching it, waiting for you to show up. The hope drained from Victoria's face. Unless, James said slowly, we give them something else to worry about. What do you mean? I asked. James turned to face us fully, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen before. A spark. A glint of the fighter he'd been trying to bury. I mean, we stop running. We stop reacting. We go on the offense. He pulled up another screen, this one showing a building in downtown Chicago. Arkan CEO, Richard Volkov, is giving a speech at a defense industry conference tomorrow night. Big event. Lots of press. Lots of security. And Victoria prompted. And while he's there, giving his speech, pretending to be a legitimate businessman, his security will be focused on protecting him. Which means the team watching the storage facility in North Carolina will be pulled for additional support. James smiled that dangerous smile again. It's a narrow window. Maybe 4 hours. But it's enough. I was starting to see where he was going. You want to use Volkov as bait. I want to make him think we're coming for him. Make him scared enough to pull his people close. And while they're all circled around their boss, we slip into North Carolina and grab what we need. That's insane, Victoria said. That's tactics, I corrected. It's actually smart. Create a diversion. Hit them where they're weak. James nodded appreciatively. Military. Army. 4 years. Iraq. Good. Then you understand. This only works if we're coordinated. If we're fast. And if we're willing to accept that there's no backup plan. We get one shot at this. Victoria looked between us. So what's the plan? James cracked his knuckles. I make it look like we're planning an attack on Volkov. Lots of digital noise, hacking attempts on the conference center security, airline reservations to Chicago, hotel bookings. Meanwhile, you two drive to North Carolina. I'll give you the exact location of the storage unit, the entry codes, everything. You get in, grab the evidence, get out. 4 hours, start to finish. And if it doesn't work? I asked. If they see through the diversion? Then you die and my kill switch gets triggered and Arkan burns anyway. But you die. He looked at Victoria. Still want revenge? She didn't hesitate. Yes. Then we move tomorrow. I need tonight to set up the diversion, make it believable. You two should rest. There's a bedroom upstairs. 1 bed, but I'm assuming that's not a problem. He said it casually, but I saw Victoria's cheeks flush. We're not, she started. I don't care what you are, James interrupted. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be brutal. He turned back to his computers, already typing, already working. The conversation was over. Victoria and I exchanged a glance. Then we headed upstairs. The bedroom was small but comfortable. 1 large bed, exactly as promised. Victoria sat on the edge of it, suddenly looking exhausted. I'll take the floor, I said. Marcus, don't be ridiculous. We're both adults. We can share a bed without. She stopped, seeming to realize what she was saying. An awkward silence fell. Earlier, I said carefully, in my kitchen, you said something about falling in love with me. Victoria looked up, her eyes wide. I shouldn't have said that. It was inappropriate. You're in danger because of me, and I had no right to. Was it true? She froze. What? Was it true? Or were you just trying to manipulate me into helping you? I needed to know. Because if this was all just a play, if she'd calculated every word, every touch, every moment of vulnerability to make me more invested in her survival, then I needed to know that now. Before I got in any deeper, Victoria stood up and walked to the window. For a long time, she didn't speak. I've been alone for a year, she finally said. Completely, utterly alone. Everyone I trusted is either dead or a potential spy. I've been sleeping with a gun under my pillow, checking my car for bombs every morning, waiting for the bullet I'll never see coming. She turned to face me. And then there was you. This man who opened his door to a stranger. Who believed me when anyone else would have thought I was crazy. Who fought for me. Who killed for me. Her voice dropped to a whisper. who looks at his daughter's drawings like they're precious works of art, who's honest and kind and real in a way I'd forgotten people could be. She crossed the room until she was standing right in front of me. So yes, Marcus. It's true. I know it's insane. I know we barely know each other. I know this is probably just adrenaline and trauma and proximity. But I haven't felt this way about anyone since. She swallowed hard. Since Daniel. And I thought I'd never feel it again. My heart was pounding. Victoria. You don't have to say anything. I know this complicates everything. I know you probably don't feel the same way. I know. I kissed her. I don't know why I did it. Maybe because I'd been dying ever since she said those words in my kitchen. Maybe because I'd been lying to myself about what I was feeling. Maybe because tomorrow we might both die and I didn't want to have any regrets. She gasped against my mouth, surprised. Then she was kissing me back, her hands fisting in my shirt, pulling me closer. It was desperate and sweet and terrifying all at once. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. I feel the same way, I whispered. I don't know how it's possible. I don't know if it makes any sense. But I do. Victoria smiled, really smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her. We're idiots. Absolutely. We're going to die tomorrow. Probably. But right now. She kissed me again, softer this time. Right now, we're alive. We were. Against all odds, despite everything, we were alive. And that night, wrapped in each other's arms, I let myself believe we might stay that way. We left Montana at dawn. James gave us a laptop with encrypted files, detailed maps of the storage facility, and entry codes he'd somehow obtained. He also gave us something else, 2 handguns and a bulletproof vest. Just in case, he said. I took them without comment. I'd killed one man already. What was the difference if I had to kill another? The drive to North Carolina took 28 hours. We drove in shifts, pushing hard, stopping only when we absolutely had to. Victoria slept with her head on my shoulder when I drove, and I slept with my hand in hers when she took the wheel. We didn't talk about what had happened between us. There was too much to say and not enough time to say it. James's diversion kicked in at 6 p.m. on the second day. He sent us a text, Volkov's getting twitchy. Securities being repositioned. You have your window. Go. We were already 2 hours out from Kitty Hawk. By 8 p.m., we were pulling up to the storage facility. It was exactly what it looked like, rows of corrugated metal units, accessed by key codes, monitored by security cameras that James had assured us were now on a loop. Unit 347, Victoria said, checking the map. 3rd row. We found it easily. I entered the code James had given us. The lock clicked open. Inside, the unit was mostly empty. Just a single metal filing cabinet against the back wall. Victoria went to it immediately, pulling out the drawers. It's locked. I had a crowbar in the trunk, another gift from James. It took me less than 30 seconds to pop the lock. Inside the top drawer was a single external hard drive in a waterproof case. Victoria pulled it out with shaking hands. This is it. This has to be it. Let's verify before we celebrate, I said. I pulled out the laptop James had given us and connected the hard drive. Files appeared on the screen. Hundreds of them. Financial records, communications, video files. I clicked on one at random. It was a recording of a phone call. Richard Volkov's voice, unmistakable, talking to someone about the Syrian shipment and cleaning up the mess with the senator. Oh my God, Victoria breathed. This is it. This is everything. I clicked on another file. Bank records showing wire transfers from Arkan subsidiaries to shell companies, then from those companies to offshore accounts belonging to Pentagon officials. Another file. A video. Grainy security footage of what looked like a warehouse. Men loading crates into trucks. And standing there, supervising, was someone I recognized from news photos. A 4-star general who'd retired 3 years ago to join Arkan's board of directors. We have them, Victoria whispered. We actually have them. I was about to respond when I heard it. Footsteps. Outside the unit. Multiple pairs. My blood turned to ice. Marcus. Victoria's voice was tight with fear. I held up a hand for silence. Listened. The footsteps had stopped, but I could hear breathing. Movement. Someone was out there. James's window had been wrong, or they'd seen through his diversion. Or the door to the storage unit exploded inward. For men in tactical gear burst through, weapons raised. I shoved Victoria behind me and reached for the gun James had given me, but I wasn't fast enough. Don't even think about it, one of them said. He was big, muscular, with a scar across his jaw. Hands where we can see them. Both of you. I raised my hand slowly. Beside me, Victoria did the same. We've been waiting for you, Scarface continued. Did you really think we'd fall for that pathetic diversion? Volkov knew you'd come for the evidence. He's been planning for this. My mind raced. If they knew we'd come here, if they'd been waiting for us, then James's entire plan had been compromised. Which meant, where's James Castellan? Another operative asked, stepping forward. He was leaner, cold-eyed. We know he's been helping you. Where is he? Victoria's jaw tightened. I don't know what you're talking about. Wrong answer. Cold Eyes nodded at Scarface, who grabbed Victoria by the arm and yanked her forward. She cried out, "Don't touch her!" I lunged forward, but another operative slammed me back against the wall, a gun pressed to my throat. Here's how this is going to work, Cold Eyes said pleasantly. You're going to tell us where James is. You're going to give us every copy of Daniel Castellan's evidence. And then you're going to get on your knees while we put bullets in your heads. Quick, clean, relatively painless. And if we refuse? I managed to choke out around the gun barrel. Then it won't be quick. And it won't be clean. And your daughter, Zoe, is it? Will have a very unpleasant visit from some of our associates. Pure rage flooded through me. You touch my daughter and I will. You'll what? Cold Eyes laughed. You're not in a position to threaten anyone, Mr. Webb. You're a dead man. The only question is how much you want to suffer first. Victoria was struggling against Scarface's grip. Let him go. I'll tell you whatever you want. Just let him go. Victoria, no. I'm the one you want, she screamed. I'm Daniel's widow. I'm the one who's been investigating you. He's just someone I dragged into this. He doesn't know anything. Cold Eyes studied her. That's probably true. Which is why we'll kill him first. So you can watch. He raised his gun, pointing it at my head. And that's when the lights went out. Complete, total darkness. The storage facility's power grid had just died. In the confusion, I felt the gun barrel leave my throat. I dropped low, sweeping my leg out, feeling it connect with someone's knees. A man went down with a grunt. Go! I shouted to Victoria. Run! Gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes lit up the darkness in strobing bursts. I rolled, feeling bullets punch through the metal wall where I'd been standing. My hand closed on something, the crowbar I'd dropped. I swung it blindly, felt it connect with flesh and bone. Someone screamed. More gunfire. Someone was shooting from outside the unit now, and these rounds were hitting the operatives, not us. I heard men shouting, heard bodies hitting the ground. Then, as suddenly as it had started, the shooting stopped. Emergency lights flickered on, dim red bulbs that barely illuminated anything. I could see Victoria pressed against the back wall, unhurt. I could see 4 bodies on the ground, the Arkan operatives, all dead or dying. And standing in the doorway, holding a rifle with a night scope, was James Castellan. "Told you would need a backup plan," he said dryly. "You were supposed to be in Montana." Victoria gasped. "I was." Then I started thinking about how easy it would be for them to flip the script. "So I took a private plane, got here 2 hours before you, and set up a little insurance policy." He gestured at the bodies. "Good thing I did." I was still holding the crowbar, my hands shaking. "You killed the power. Cut the main line to the facility. Gave you an opening." He looked at the laptop, still connected to the hard drive. "Did you get what we need?" "Yes," Victoria said. "Everything. It's all here." "Then we move. Now. They'll have backup coming." James was already heading back to his vehicle, a nondescript SUV parked behind the storage units. We grabbed the laptop and hard drive and ran. 5 minutes later, we were speeding away from the facility, sirens wailing in the distance. "Where are we going?" I asked. "DC," James said. "We're done hiding. We're done running. Tomorrow morning, we're holding a press conference, and we're releasing everything." "They'll kill us before we get there," Victoria protested. "That's why we're not going alone." James pulled out his phone and made a call. "Senator, it's James Castellan." "Yes, that James Castellan. I need your help, and in exchange, I'm going to give you the biggest story of your career. Are you interested?" I couldn't hear the response, but James smiled. "Good. I'll see you in 12 hours. And Senator, bring security. Lots of it." He hung up. "Who was that?" I asked. "Senator Patricia Harris, chair of the Senate Armed Services Committee. She's been trying to investigate Arkan for 3 years, but they've blocked her at every turn." James glanced at us in the rearview mirror. "With this evidence, she can't be blocked anymore. She'll have no choice but to go public." "She could be compromised," Victoria said. "They could have gotten to her." "They tried. She told them to go to hell. Harris is one of the few people in Washington who can't be bought." James's expression was grim. "Which is exactly why we need her. One person releasing this evidence. They can suppress that, discredit it. But a U.S. senator, backed by documented proof, calling for investigations on live television? That's a lot harder to bury." It was a good plan. Maybe even a plan that could work. If we survived the next 12 hours. We drove through the night, taking back roads, constantly checking for tails. James had enough tradecraft to keep us off the radar, but the closer we got to DC, the more nervous I became. This was it. The endgame. Either we exposed Arkan and survived, or we died trying. I kept thinking about Zoe, about whether I'd ever see her again, about what I'd say to her if I did. "You'll see her again," Victoria said quietly, reading my mind. "You can't know that." "I can hope it." She took my hand. "And when you do, you'll be able to tell her that you did something important. Something that mattered. You helped bring down some very bad people. She's 8. She won't understand. She will when she's older. And she'll be proud of you. I wanted to believe that. God, I wanted to believe that. We reached D.C. at 6 a.m. James drove us straight to the Capitol, where Senator Harris was waiting with a security detail and what looked like half the Senate press corps. You brought the media, James observed. You told me to bring security, Harris replied. She was a tall, severe-looking woman in her 60s with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Cameras are security. Arkan can't kill you in front of 200 journalists without triggering a national crisis. Smart. Very smart. We were ushered into a secure conference room where Harris had set up a command center. Her staff immediately began verifying the evidence on the hard drive, cross-referencing it with their own investigations. This is incredible, one of her aides breathed. Senator, this is everything we've been looking for. Wire transfers, communications, video evidence. It's a complete smoking gun. Harris looked at Victoria. Your husband was a brave man. And very thorough. He was murdered for this, Victoria said quietly. And I want to see his killers face justice. You will. Harris turned to her staff. Set up the press conference for 9 a.m. I want every major network there. And get the FBI on the line. We're going to need federal protection for these 3. The next 2 hours were a blur. FBI agents arrived, securing the building. Journalists crowded into the press room. And I sat in a corner, my phone in my hand, trying to work up the courage to call Zoe. Victoria sat down next to me. Call her. I don't know what to say. Tell her you love her. Tell her you'll see her soon. That's all she needs to hear. I dialed the number for James's security team. They patched me through to Zoe. Dad. Her voice was small, uncertain. Where are you? My throat closed up. Hey, baby. I'm in D.C. I'm sorry I haven't called. I've been working on something important. Grandma said you were on a business trip. But you always call me before bed. Even on business trips. I know. I'm sorry. What could I tell her? How could I explain any of this? I love you, Zoe. More than anything in the world. You know that, right? I know. A pause. Are you in trouble? She was too smart. Too perceptive. No, baby. I'm okay. But I need you to stay with Grandma for a little bit longer, okay? Can you do that for me? Okay. Her voice was so small. I miss you, Dad. I miss you too. So much. But I'll see you soon. I promise. You always keep your promises. Always, I said, and hoped to God I could keep this one. We said goodbye. I hung up, and I sat there with my head in my hands, trying to hold myself together. Victoria's hand rested on my shoulder. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. At 8:55 a.m., Senator Harris gathered us in the hallway outside the press room. Once we go in there, there's no going back, she said. Arkan will throw everything they have at discrediting this. They'll call it a hoax, a conspiracy theory, doctored evidence. They'll try to destroy your reputations. Are you prepared for that? Yes, Victoria said without hesitation. James nodded. Harris looked at me. Mr. Webb, you're a civilian. You have a daughter. You can still walk away from this. We have enough with Victoria and James's testimony. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I could walk away. Go back to my apartment. Pick up Zoe. Try to rebuild our normal life. Hope that Arkan wouldn't come after me later. Hope that the evidence was enough without my testimony. Or I could stand up and tell the truth about what happened to me. About the man I killed defending Victoria. About the conspiracy that had nearly destroyed my life. I'm not walking away, I said. Harris smiled approvingly. Then let's go make history. We walked into the press room together. The cameras were blinding. Questions erupted from the crowd of journalists. Senator Harris raised her hand for silence. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. I'm here today to announce an investigation into Arkan Solutions, a private military contractor with extensive ties to the United States government. New evidence has come to light that suggests Arkan has been engaged in illegal arms trafficking, bribery of federal officials, and murder to conceal their activities. The room erupted. Journalists shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Harris continued, her voice cutting through the noise. This evidence was compiled by Daniel Castellan, the late CEO of Castellan Industries, who was murdered for his investigation. I am joined today by his widow, Victoria Castellan, his brother, James Castellan, and Marcus Webb, a witness to Arkan's criminal activities. We are prepared to present our evidence to the FBI, the Department of Justice, and this body. She nodded to an aide, who began playing files from the hard drive on the large screens set up in the room. Financial records appeared. Wire transfers showing millions of dollars moving from Arkan to shell companies to offshore accounts belonging to government officials. Then video footage. The warehouse I'd seen earlier, with the general supervising arms shipments. Then audio. Richard Volkov's voice, discussing bribes and murders with chilling casualness. The room went silent. Every journalist was staring at the screens, frantically taking notes. As you can see, Harris continued, this evidence is comprehensive and damning. It shows a pattern of criminal activity spanning more than a decade. And it implicates individuals at the highest levels of our government and military. She paused for effect. Effective immediately, I am calling for a full Senate investigation into Arkan Solutions. I am also requesting that the Attorney General appoint a special prosecutor to pursue criminal charges. And I am demanding that all government contracts with Arkan be suspended pending the outcome of these investigations. More chaos. More questions. Victoria stepped forward to the microphone. My husband was murdered for trying to expose the truth, she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. Thomas Brennan, his head of security, was murdered. And countless others have died because Arkan wanted to protect their profits. Today, we're saying, no more. No more deaths. No more cover-ups. Today, the truth comes out. James spoke next, detailing the technical aspects of the evidence, explaining how they'd verified its authenticity. Then it was my turn. I stepped up to the microphone, my heart hammering. My name is Marcus Webb, I said. 5 days ago, I was a project manager at Castellan Industries. I was a single father trying to provide for my daughter. I was nobody special. I took a breath. Then Victoria Castellan knocked on my door, running for her life. And I let her in. And in doing so, I became a target. Arkan sent an operative to kill me. In self-defense, I fought him. He died. The room exploded with questions. I raised my voice to continue. I killed a man. His name was Connor Blake, and he was a murderer himself, someone Arkan used to eliminate witnesses. But I didn't know that when I fought him. I just knew he was trying to kill me and Victoria. And I knew I had a daughter who needed her father to come home. I looked directly at the cameras. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand what Arkan does. They don't just break laws. They destroy lives. They killed Daniel Castellan. They killed Thomas Brennan. They tried to kill Victoria, and James, and me. And they'll keep killing until someone stops them. I stepped back from the microphone. The questions came like a tidal wave. But Senator Harris fielded them expertly, referring to the evidence, promising full investigations, refusing to speculate. The press conference lasted 2 hours. And by the time it was over, every major news network was running with the story. Massive defense contractor scandal. Senator calls for investigation into murder-for-hire plot. Billions in illegal arms sales exposed. We'd done it. We'd actually done it. The fallout was exactly as spectacular as we'd hoped. Within days, the FBI had raided Arkan's headquarters. Richard Volkov was arrested trying to flee to a non-extradition country. The 4-star general in the video killed himself before he could be taken into custody. 3 senators and a Pentagon deputy director resigned in disgrace. The trials would take years. But the conspiracy was broken. Victoria and I testified before Congress, before grand juries, before anyone who would listen. James emerged from hiding to become the star witness, his technical expertise making the evidence irrefutable. Arkan Solutions collapsed. Its contracts were cancelled. Its assets were seized. And the people it had corrupted were, one by one, being held accountable. As for me, I got my life back. It took time. The media circus was intense, every aspect of my life scrutinized, my past dug up, my daughter's privacy invaded. But eventually, the attention faded. People moved on to the next scandal. And I got to go home to Zoe. She was waiting on the front steps of our building when I arrived, and she ran to me so hard I nearly fell over. I held her and cried and promised I'd never leave her again. "You're a hero, Dad," she said, looking up at me with those eyes that saw everything. "No," I said. "I'm just a dad who tried to do the right thing." "That's what makes you a hero." "Smart kid." Victoria and I tried to make it work. We really did. But the trauma, the media attention, the sheer weight of everything we'd been through, it was too much. We cared about each other, maybe even loved each other, but we couldn't build a relationship on a foundation of murder and conspiracy. We ended things amicably. She sent Zoe gifts on her birthday and Christmas. We texted occasionally. But we both knew we needed to heal separately. James went back to Montana, but now he consults for the FBI on tech investigations. He and I talk sometimes. He's become something like a mentor, someone who understands what it's like to be an ordinary person dragged into extraordinary circumstances. And me. I went back to my job, back to my routine. Back to packing Zoe's lunches and helping with homework and attending soccer games. But I'm not the same person I was before Victoria knocked on my door. I know now what I'm capable of. I know I can be brave when I need to be. I know I can protect the people I love, no matter the cost. And I know that sometimes, the most important thing you can do is open the door when a stranger knocks. Even if it changes your life forever. Especially then.